Hello, everyone. I am Michelle Youngman, and thank you so much for joining us for CMB's webinar. We have Kristen Boyce is here with us. She's on deck, and you know what? She comes from radio. She's currently a professor at Liberty, and if anyone knows Gen Z, it's Kristen. So I'm so excited to have her. She showed me this presentation a while back, and I'm like, oh, we really need for you to do this with our CMB people. And so she has gladly said yes. And so she'll be with us here in a minute. But before she joins us, let's talk about CMB memberships. So have you joined yet? I can see all those hands raised. Well, our members are part of a growing community that really makes our industry a lot stronger. You can see there the different options for you to choose from, our gold members and our silver members. And this is a way to invest in yourself, to invest in our industry. And we hope that if you are not a member, that you will check out our membership page, cmbonline.org, and it'll tell you all about our memberships and how you can be part of our community as well. Well, there are two memberships benefits that I want to tell you about before we dive in with Kristen. And the first one is Momentum 2026. So the team is hard at work putting together an amazing lineup for you. The artists are being confirmed right now. Everything is coming together. Our theme this year is greater than, and we're so excited to see how God uses that really to just change the trajectory of what we're all doing. And so at the end of the day, it's all about how God is directing us. So we're excited about Momentum. And as a member, as your gold member, you get to come for free. It's part of your membership. Silver members get a discount, so you can see that there as well. And if you've not thought about Momentum yet, now is the time to register, get your hotel room before they sell out, and plan to join us for our industry's biggest gathering of the year. And we look forward to seeing you there. Another benefit of our membership is our special awards. So anybody can nominate. So you can see there, we've got a QR code. Snap that. If there's somebody that you think is deserving of an Industry Achievement Award, we have our Community Service Award, and then we have our Rich Mullins Artist Award. And so there are people out there, including maybe your own station, that is so deserving of the recognition. And so take a minute. We'd love for you to nominate someone, and then our benefit for our members is that they actually get to vote on our finalists, and they will be presented at Momentum 2026 on Friday, May 29th. So anyway, we can't do it without you. So we look forward to seeing the names come in and who we can celebrate during our special time together. Well, now we're going to invite Kristen to join us. Kristen is based in Lynchburg, where she is an incredible teacher. She's been so gracious to support CMB with like CMB University. She actually spoke this year to our students and our professors, and we're so excited to have her here today. So I'm just going to turn it over to you, Kristen. Thanks for
All
joining us.
right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. And hello, everyone. So great to be on with you guys today. I'm going to take a second to transition and get my screen shared with you all so that we can jump in. But like Michelle said, I spent 7 years with the Bridge. Shout out to the Bridge family. They're still my family. They'll be forever my family in Delaware. And I spent several years coming every year to Momentum, and it's really been a highlight that I've cherished. And I love the relationships that have been made. So grateful to continue those relationships. But yes, I've transitioned into a new season, a new role here at Liberty University as a professor. So I am around Gen Z all the time. And honestly, it is the best gig ever. I absolutely love it. So I'm joining you guys today to share some research that I have done personally right here on campus. We have about 15,000 residential students that are here on campus. And currently this semester, I personally have about 500 of them. So each semester I have about 500 students that I get to interact with daily. And I always tell them, you guys bring me life. So it is awesome. It's a great generation, but we have a lot to learn about them, especially as it relates to their faith walk. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about that today. So let's jump right in. And for my Bridge family, I got to share this with them as I went back to one of their off-site conferences. And so they've heard a little bit of this, although some of it's been tweaked and enhanced since then. But research shows, and I just want to start with this, research has shown, Pew Research repeatedly has found that Gen Z is the nation's least religious generation. with about a third of them having no religion at all. And I'll be curious to know how many of you on this call today are actually from Gen Z, because I know Gen Z, we're starting to get, moving them into the Christian radio industry as well. However, I know that that quote, that research doesn't really speak hope into what we're looking at, but there is more to come, and there's good news to come on the other side of that. It's growing. We're seeing a resurgence in Gen Z coming back to church, coming to church for the first time. And they right now are the fastest growing group as it relates to relationships, personal relationships with Jesus. And that has gone up 12% just since 2021. I know that we walked through COVID, and a lot of us probably never want to ever go back to that. But there was some good that came from it. And some of that was people just getting into God's word and finding hope, right? Hope that this world can't offer us, but that is only found in Jesus. Barna data also has shown a notable rise in Bible sales, and I think that's really encouraging, but specifically with Gen Z. We saw a 36% increase in Bible sales. Unfortunately, a lot of that spiked after the tragic loss of Charlie Kirk. So some of that spike was attributed to what our country walked through after witnessing that. But you know what? Um, it's not the first time that we have seen tragedy really grab our hearts and grab a hold of a generation, a nation, and just really have an awakening, as we can call it, an awakening, a revival, call it what you want. But I will continue on with some hopeful news for you guys, not sad news. But today, 1 in 3 Gen Z adults ages 18 to in a higher power. So this is according to a research that was done from the Springdale Research Institute, and that is now up from 1 in 4, just since in 2021. And the other thing that's related to that research is a recent Barna Group data study that reported younger adults. They have in this bucket Gen Z and millennials that are now attending church more often than even the older generations. There's a link to an article that I've embedded in here, and I told Michelle I'd be happy to send this presentation out so that you guys can take a peek at it later, save it, use it for whatever you see. But there's a quote from Billy Graham that says, "When we come to the end of ourselves, we come to the beginning of God." And so, in this time of rising depression, suicide, despair, we can just watch the news for 5 minutes, right? And we can feel like, oh my goodness, what is happening in this world? We see the countries divided, we see the political divide. And when people come to the end of themselves, they say when you hit rock bottom, you find out who the rock is at the bottom, and that is Jesus. And we pray and pray that more people are coming together. They're longing for community. We're seeing revival on the rise, and we want to just continue claiming that, witnessing that, and then how can we all collectively be a part of that? So, as we celebrate that Gen Z is curious and growing in their faith, how can we grab a hold of that and then utilize that to implement it into the Christian radio world that you all live in? So I went around campus and I did some research personally. So I didn't pull a lot of this from the internet. Some came from different research on the internet, but a lot of the things I'm sharing with you guys today, I did go out directly and I polled some of my students, and I polled different classes and actually even some random students on campus. And I asked them, do you listen to Christian radio? 59% said no. And are you guys surprised by that? 41% said yes. And so I added a couple of different video clips in here. Again, I won't show them today for sake of time that we have, but I did include some additional data on the back end. So as you guys refer back to this, later, you'll be able to look into the additional notes that I've embedded and you'll be able to see. But I was encouraged by that. Honestly, it was a little bit, the numbers, I thought that, to be honest, I thought more were going to say no. So, do you listen to Christian radio? This is the video clip that I mentioned to you that I'm not going to show today, but is embedded into this presentation. So my next question to them was, okay, if you don't listen to Christian radio, where do you listen to your music? And of course, I did hear a lot of them that said, I grew up on Christian radio. My parents listened to Christian radio. I have three daughters, two are college age girls, and they listened to Christian radio because that was what we listened to, growing up. That was their only option. So where do most listen to Christian music right now, or music in general? And of course, again, I don't think this is earth-shattering to any of you, but number one was Spotify. I asked them what their streaming platform of choice was. And so, of course, Spotify was number one. We saw a lot of Apple Music, Amazon Music, iHeart, local radio, and then the YouTube Music was in there. So streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music right now are definitely the primary place that Gen Z is listening to music on a daily basis. About 60% of audio listening time for Gen Z is spent on streaming platforms. So that leads us to think, how can we integrate and take some of these behaviors and implement them either into what we're doing or what we're thinking about for future growth opportunities. I will say another thing that I read, Gen Z leads engagement with Christian media, so overall Christian media on social platforms. About 64% of Gen Z is engaging with Christian social media accounts. So does that mean you guys? Very well could be if you're doing things out in those spaces. Is that an opportunity that you could tap into? Maybe a new avenue that you explore or a growth opportunity? Potentially. So just think about that. Gen Z doesn't just listen to music like a lot of the previous generations. They actually live in these platforms where they're integrating listening, sharing, socializing, and really discovering all at the same time. So if we think about video plus audio plus social, that really equals the music culture for Gen Z. All right, so next up, I'm going to try and be mindful of our time, and I will also open it up for questions, some Q&A at the end. So if you have thoughts or questions as I'm going through this, feel free to think through those. So my next question for them was, all right, if you don't listen to Christian radio and you listen to only streaming services, why don't you actually listen to Christian radio? I was trying to dig a little deeper. And so I have given you guys a few little blurbs of what they said to me. I like to listen to whatever song I want to, right? When I want to on Spotify. It also gives me tailored suggestions for me because of the technology that our world now has. It can pick my way and play it right away. Some say the radio is overcrowded with ads and repetitive songs. I heard that from several of them. Some of them said, I find most of the music on the public Christian radio are older songs and just don't appeal to me. So they use Spotify. Another one said, while Christian radio does play some newer songs, many of them are either older or they're played too often. And so some of them, another one said, my music taste is a little different than what is currently playing on the radio. So lots of different reasons why. We can drill down into that. And again, I listed actually all of the raw data from my research. I have every single comment that came back in. If you guys want to dig a little deeper into that, you are more than welcome to. So my next question to them, and again, that's another video that we won't play today, but it'll be embedded in here, is, okay, if you don't listen to Christian radio and you've given us some of the reasons why, how can Christian radio better connect with your generation? Like, what can we do to better engage? And again, this is all raw data. This is straight from their mouth. And I'm just I don't want to spend too much time on all of these because this could be a lot of commentary to read to you guys. But other platforms to listen on, on a major listening platform, or they're creating awareness of ways to listen outside. So these are ideas, okay, that they shared of how we can better interact or connect with them. So think through other platforms, or what are other ways that you can engage them. I personally just don't even know what the channel is for the Christian radio. I found that to be interesting. So I know a lot of stations, there's a lot of networks out there, and you just say your network name, but some of them don't know actually how to find that station on the dial. So they don't know where to look, but I'd be open to it if I could find it. So that was one. Find more variety in the music that they're playing. Pick different artists instead of the same few over and over again. Expanding into the smartphone or streaming market, placing your content on Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Give brief testimonies or encouragement about specific topics that we deal with on a daily basis. So, what is Gen Z dealing with? And then, how do we address that? Getting onto social media, things like TikToks, the behind the scenes of working there. Again, more video. They love video content. Now, their attention span is not extremely long. So, tapping into the extent their attention span and then finding that sweet spot, of what that balance looks like. So, I'm going to pop these on here. I'll let you guys kind of read through them. Someone said, stop using cheesy Christianese sayings. All right. And of course, this last one highlights how diverse and individualist their generation is. They think the best way to connect with them is to expand the genre a little bit more, instead of playing all of the same genre and just finding different things. So again, I know it's a really fine line, isn't it, of trying to figure out how to do this, but stay true to who we are and who you guys are, in Christian radio. So I get it. There's a formula. I totally understand that. All right. So next question that was posed to them is, I'm trying to move this so I can see my screen. If you could change one thing about Christian radio, what would it be? And some of the feedback, that they shared on this one, I'm trying to find my behind the scenes notes here, is have ways for people to suggest what songs they want the radio to play, change some of the kind of music that dominates it, maybe more ways to listen. One said, I'm not sure. I haven't listened long enough to be able to provide any criticism. One said, I honestly prefer just listening to music or just listening to podcasts. So the combination of music and talking on the radio is not my favorite. Again, some of these are going to be very, specific to the individual. So it can be hard to bucket this into, an all category. No ads, more country music songs, stop the repetitiveness. So there you go. There's just a few different things that we hit on. And then I threw this in here. This came from the Dunham and Company. And Christian teaching and talk attracts a younger audience than Christian music radio. So if you look at this chart here, it gives you a breakdown of the different generations and what their preferences are. All right, so moving into, I'm trying to keep us on track here. Let's see, why won't my screen move now? Michelle, can you still see my screen?
I sure can.
Yeah, okay. Because I can't. It's weird. It did something weird. All right, let me go back to this and see.
It's on the, if
Oh,
you
there
could
we
change
go.
one thing about Christian radio, what would it be?
Yeah, okay. It's just not advancing for me for some reason now. It's like stuck. Yeah. Hmm. Okay, so weird. It's not advancing.
Would
And
you
you
like
have,
me to share the presentation you sent me?
um,
Although
let
it
me
might,
let me just stop sharing and then I'll just reshare it really quick. Sorry,
okay.
maybe it's somehow it got frozen or something. I'm not sure what happened. All right, let's see if it kind of re-engages it. Hmm. Okay, technical challenges. Here, and we had everything all tested out perfectly. All right, there we go. Hallelujah. All right, can you guys see now my screen that says how can Christian radio better connect with Gen Z?
Yep, you
Okay,
got it.
all right, perfect. We are back on track. So, how can Christian radio better connect with Gen Z? And again, this is raw feedback that came straight from Gen Z's mouth. Um, and again, I'm not going to read all of these to you guys, but it does give you like a taste of where they're coming from, what the thought process is. A lot of them were thinking through, some of the same thoughts. No, that was the initial one. Okay, so I had already covered that slide. So the next slide, and we're on track here, is I said, hey, what song would you call in and request today? An overwhelming amount responded with these. So I just threw the top responses in here. And I know some of these are like hot off the press songs, and many of you are probably already even playing these songs. So this is what they're looking for. They want like worship. Like I feel like we are in a generation that's craving worship. If any of you have ever been to Liberty and you've been a part of experiencing our convocations here, it is the largest gathering of Christian college age students worshiping at the same time in the entire world. We have 15,000 students worshiping, just like this picture shows. And it is beautiful. I invite you guys to come for a visit if you've never experienced it. But these are just some songs I threw in here that they said, yeah, these are the top songs that I would probably call in today and play. All right, so what would you or would you donate money to your local Christian radio station? I wanted to get to their hearts of giving. I teach a donor development and fundraising class here at Liberty. Actually, our nonprofit management major is growing by leaps and bounds, and I get to oversee that major. So, having come from this world and now being able to teach them about it is really special. So, would you donate money to your local Christian radio station? And there's some studies out there that have shown that Gen Z is a very generous generation. New Epsilon nonprofit research shows that in 2022, Gen Z adults eclipsed both millennials and Gen X in donations per donor. Gen Z made more donations per donor than millennials, so that was encouraging. So with that, this trend actually shows a sign that Gen Z could become a major philanthropic force over time as their earning potential and power increases and matures, but also if we engage them. So that's, I think, is the critical part. So their question or their answers, as you see in the little chart that I created, 55% said no, they wouldn't. 45% said yes. So, for nonprofits who are struggling with attracting and keeping donors, the solution may lie in how you're reaching your Gen Z donors. So, just encourage you guys to think through that if you've never tackled that. I know baby boomers right now is where it's at, but we are going to see a huge change in boomer giving as that generational wealth transfers, and we see that trend continue to change. But research that I found attached to this also stated that among people who do give, Gen Z donors tend to make more individual donations per person than any other generation. So that shows me that there's a sign of consistent engagement. They aren't necessarily giving more money per person overall, but they're giving more often in smaller gifts. And for those of you that have the monthly donation programs, Team 360, whatever you call it, that is really an area that you could tap into Gen Z for additional and greater support. That's how they like to give. All right, next slide. If you had $100 extra, where would you donate it? So I said, okay, if you're not going to donate your money to your local Christian station, which I encourage them to do, but where would you donate your money to? 16 out of the 60 for this particular question said they would give it to their church. Some said I wouldn't donate the money directly. I would rather purchase, actual supplies. Let's just say that there's a pregnancy center drive, or you're sending your team to Dominican Republic with supplies. They'd like to actually be a part of that and purchasing it tangibly. giving food to shelters and food drives, pregnancy care centers, homeless, etc., human trafficking, somewhere where they can tangibly see and feel that impact. That's what Gen Z wants to be able to see and feel. So, how can your station engage them so that they can be a part of something bigger and see it tangibly and be involved in it from that perspective? And there's a fun little chart that I threw in here with additional information and a link to an article about Gen Z being the next generation of donors. So, what tools best help them in their faith journey? I asked them. All right, so how can we, as the older generation, help you guys in your faith journey? And this is the response that I got to this question. Reading the Bible, 51%, or 83% of them. They just said, reading the Bible. So, how can we encourage them in their Bible reading? Do you have something on your station right now that's encouraging them through that? Listening to Christian radio, listening to their music of choice. The next highest was attending church, and we saw that church attendance for Gen Z is going up. So how can we encourage and equip and make sure that we still see that trend increase as it relates to them getting back into the church? Their friends and family play a huge part. Mentorship, and then Christian concerts and events fell in about 14%. All right, so my personal experiences with this generation, and this is actually a quick snapshot of one of my classes. And here on our beautiful campus, it happened to be a really nice day, and we were preparing for our final exam. So I was like, hey guys, let's go outside and do our class today from the balcony. But we, just from my experience with them and from asking them, all of these questions and going through this data, they are really craving love and encouragement. They want to engage with authentic people. They're not looking for someone who, is really just this way over here and then this way over here, or doesn't give them the time of day. They're passionate about causes that touch their hearts. They really do value one-on-one time and more personal interactions. I launched a mentorship program here last semester, and it has grown by leaps and bounds because I can see that they're craving that. They want to be seen and they want to be heard. They're looking again for the mentorship opportunities, the one-on-one opportunities. Can your station launch a mentorship program? Think through that. They love music events and pure worship, and they really want us to meet them where they are. So we have to find out where they are. And then once we do that and we can engage with them, show that we care, they're hooked. So these are just some practical tips, pointers that I want to send your way. I threw this letter in here for you guys. I'm not going to read it, but you're welcome to read it later on. But this came from a very precious student of mine. And he noticed my interaction in class with him, with the other students. So when I say they're watching us to see how we're acting, how we're responding, how we're encouraging them in their walk on this journey. So here's a couple questions I just want to wrap us up with during our time together. Are we authentically bringing the kingdom into every space, or are we trying to fit a format and a formula? I know it's a fine line, I get it, but I just want us to ponder that and think, are there things that we can do differently? Is this the year that we break out and try to do something different, or do we make some changes in this area? All right, next. Why is this not looking on here now? Oh, there we go. Are you living like salvation was the climactic point in your life? So again, just encouraging you guys personally, because we can't pour out from an empty cup. So are you lukewarm, and can people see that? Or where are you in your own walk with the Lord? And where can we go deeper with the Lord to reach those who need to be reached? I pray each day that the Lord would show me a student either on campus or in my class that needs that extra special touch from the Lord. Maybe they feel unseen, unloved, unworthy. How can we go deeper, right, and reach those people? So what changes can we make? And are we bold enough and brave enough to make those changes, even if we do it alone and stand apart from the crowd? And then lastly, I love this saying, I love this quote. If we always do what we've always done, we'll always get what we've always got. So if you want to keep things trending just the way that you guys have been, keep rolling along. But if you want to start to think outside of the box and find ways that we can engage this next generation, maybe start to ponder like, can I take baby steps, in this new direction and test the waters, knowing, what we know about this generation. They're going to be the next big generation as it relates to faith, and of course, as it leads into supporting our ministry. So we need them. We need them. So with all of that, I know we're just at about the time that Michelle had set. So I would love to stay connected with you guys. This is a QR code to my LinkedIn. My email address is on here. I'm on Instagram. I know I'm connected with a lot of you still from our Christian radio days, and I absolutely love that. So thank you guys so very much. And I would be more than happy to open it up for any questions or further engagement that you may have.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Kristen, I appreciate it. I would love to know, like, what's your favorite thing about Gen Z? I mean, you've got three daughters, you're dealing with them every day. Like, what's something that you're like, this is so different with Gen Z versus other generations?
Yes, they are really curious. Of course, I'm at Liberty and I'm on a Christian campus, but not every student that I have in my class is a believer. So I don't always assume that everyone was raised in a Christian home here or that they know the Lord personally.
Mm,
So that's been really neat for me to get to know them. But they literally are craving to go deeper and to have relationships and for further engagement. When I have students that come up to me after class and they're like, how can I pray for you this week? Oh,
mm,
it just blesses my heart so much. It just really blesses me.
I love that.
So Gen Z is an interesting generation. They've been through a lot, they've seen a lot, they've felt a lot. Like I said, COVID, our country, being divided in so many different ways. And they are really seeking answers and they're seeking solutions and they're trying to fill that hole in their heart. And I have seen that firsthand um, in so many different capacities. So they are really sweet. And I know that some of the studies show that Gen Z, as workers, they're lazy, they're this, there's some other reports that are negative. And I showed that to my classes one day too. We had really good dialogue about
Mm,
it.
mm.
But again, they want to find meaning, purpose, and value. They don't want to be in a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job. They want to find alignment with purpose and calling. And that's really what I've been seeing.
It sounds like to me that there's such an opportunity for Christian radio to take everything a step further by like not necessarily being their terrestrial microphone is their only way to connect with Gen Z, but also like what are they doing off air? Like we've got some stations that do like, the world's biggest Bible study or whatever it could be that they're connecting with them in a different way that is
Yes,
still able to further the kingdom, but also enrich some, our communities in the way that we need to do.
absolutely. Absolutely. We have a huge serve day here on campus. They also have what we call C Search, their Christian service hours. And it's really neat to see how they get plugged in. But we usually have a huge interest in the serve day, but they want to be hands on. So they want to jump in and do something that they feel is actually tangibly making a difference. So if there are activities, events, ways that you can invite them, into the station to see firsthand, I think that's
Mhm.
also really eye opening. We also have a huge request for internships. So if there are stations that are seeking interns, I can definitely help, send you some high caliber candidates for that as well.
Well, and CMB also has an internship page that stations have posted their internships on. And so for those of us that are joining us that have been looking for a way to interact with interns as well, that's a great place to just drop, your what you're looking for or that you have an opening. And also for you, Kristen, for your students to go if they're looking for
Yes.
something. Because as you know, like we are so big and such a huge advocate for with our CMB University initiative of really trying to help build our future broadcasters. And, I mean, I might be out on a limb when I say this, but I really feel like every team needs to have a Gen Z on their team to
Hmm?
be able to understand more because they're our future. So
Yes.
Okay, Brian
Completely
has a
agree.
question for you. And if
Okay.
anybody else has questions, just click on that Q&A down at the bottom. But Brian says these days we're often hearing that the younger generation are called individualistic, but Strauss and Howe have us at peak collectivism. Which is it?
That's really
So
interesting.
individualistic or peak collectivism?
Kind of see a little bit of both. Um, and I guess it really depends on where they align with certain things. I mean, we're also seeing a generation of, like we haven't seen before, but a generation of activism, if you will. And that a lot of that, you know, is part of our political climate that we see in the country. But I would say I'm seeing a little bit both. But again, it depends on, where they are at individually. What I see here at Liberty, I see individualism, but then I also see opportunities for collectivism. So I want to say it's a good variation of both, but that's a really great question.
Here's another question for you. You mentioned that worship music is a huge thing for the next generation.
Mhm.
Uh, and were there any other genres, non-worship music, which you found had a significant attraction as well?
Man, we had Abby Gamboa come to campus last semester. We had Josiah Queen come. So a lot of I don't even know what you consider that. I mean, I guess that could be considered worship music still, but some of the up and coming artists that we're seeing doesn't necessarily have to be worship, but some of the up and coming Christian artists, we're seeing that be really, really popular. There's even groups that were mentioned that I have no idea who they are. Um, yeah, so I do think that they're very specific with, who they like. A lot of them I see love country music as well. So we're seeing that fine line with some of the country music and yeah, just some of the, the latest and greatest. And if, I don't know if you call them like indie artists or what you call them. But more of like from what I've seen and what they've been craving is more of like a worship aspect.
And do they care who it is that's actually the artist behind it, or is it more the music that they care about?
I feel like it's more the music from what I've seen. Um, I don't know if any of you have ever like watched or been a part of our convocation, but we have a Liberty Worship Collective here. And even you could even actually watch it online. It's convocation is every Wednesday and Friday, and then we have campus community nights on Wednesday nights. It's open online for any of you to watch, but that would give you a really, really great peek into what they're craving worship wise. And if you want to also just see like thousands and thousands of young Gen Z worshiping their hearts out, that would be a really good sneak peek into it.
Okay, if you were to go back to yourself at your station and tell yourself what to do differently to reach Gen Z, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, that's so good. Um, so I worked in development and I had a mindset of reaching our major donors. And so I was looking at a lot of dollar signs instead of potential opportunity for growth. So I may shift gears. This is speaking to my former self in my specific role. I may say like shift gears and not solely look at, current potential, but incorporate future potential and then try to monetize, like add what that value could be if I were to focus on that, all those years ago could I have established, a great Gen Z base that they can then go out and be ambassadors? Gen Z is great at being ambassadors, which is why we have brands that have ambassador programs. So maybe you create an ambassador program at your station and you get a few awesome, talented, go-getter Gen Zs plugged in. And then they get to learn more about what you're doing, who you are, and then they can go out and be ambassadors for their generation. So I
That,
probably would have considered something along those lines instead of just solely looking at, like the here, the now, the major donors.
yeah, yeah. So Jack wants to know, why do you believe more Gen Zs like talk and teach over music?
I think because they're craving knowledge, like they're craving truth. Um, they want that's why they're a lot of them are into the podcasts. And they get to share with me, like a lot of their favorite podcasts and what they're listening to or what books they're reading. But I think they're craving truth. And when you're able to, sit and listen to podcasts or speakers or teachers, that's just another opportunity for them to take all of that in instead of just music. So finding that balance between teaching opportunities, teachable moments, teaching sessions, and then mixed with the music or the music of their choice, I think would be a fine balance. But I think it's because they're craving it. Like they're craving, like I said, truth and knowledge and trying to, find who God created them to be. And yeah, that's probably what I would say.
That's great. Well, Kristen, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. We'll have her presentation available to everybody that will also
Yes.
include those videos. And, for us, Gen Z is so important at Momentum as we look to that. We've got Tanya Pruitt that's coming to speak, who is Maddie Pruitt's mom, and she's the founder of the United efforts that have been around the country at college campuses. So we've got her speaking. And then we also have David Kinnaman, who's the president of Barna. So both hitting on that Gen Z because we think it's important to look ahead and plan for the future. So, Kristen, thank you for helping us do that today. We
Thanks
appreciate
so
it. And,
much. Thank you. It's great to see some familiar names on here too. So thank you so much, Michelle and team, for letting me be on.
awesome. Awesome. Y'all take care. Thank
All
you.
right. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.